When we talk about useless characters in Naruto, Tenten is first on the list. So much so, we even forget to mention her. But outside of having less screen time than the Ichiraku ramen guy and being Tamari's little we have a character whose story arc was massively underexplored, a shinobi whose jutsu style was immensely underrated, and the only single MILF of Konoha who kept others together when times were the hardest. Because Tenten's whole story is about a girl who couldn't become who she wanted to be and quietly became something better. Simply said, Tenten was supposed to be one of them ones. Think not? Let me show you. Cue my music.
This is what it's supposed to be. On the highway and I'm thinking that I love her.
Rising Dragon Control!
Although Kishimoto gets his flack for not writing compelling female characters, Tenten surprisingly exists outside of that stereotype, and it all starts with Tsunade Senju. Not that part of Tsunade for you naughty ones in the back. Tsunade is 1/3 of the legendary Sannin alongside Jiraiya and Orochimaru. She is widely respected as the greatest medical ninja of all time, while also being Konoha's 5th Hokage, and my personal favorite character, behind Killer Bee of course. This is who Tenten wanted to be like growing up as a young bull. Tsunade is like the All Might to Tenten's Deku. Reason being, she admired Tsunade as the blueprint for a model kunoichi, which is a great ambition to have since Kishimoto specializes in nerfing these types of shinobi. And when we look at Tsunade as a kunoichi, she is physically dominant, majorly self-reliant, has made waves in the Konoha shinobi system that can't be overlooked. So for the little we see Tenten, she tries to achieve just that. She trains endlessly on Team Guy alongside Neji and Rock Lee to become as strong as she can be. She tries to take her hand at medical ninjutsu to follow in the footsteps of Lady Tsunade, and even said to be on the upper part of taijutsu fighters from training under Might Guy. However, there is one problem. She sucks at all of them. On Team Guy, Tenten gets mostly overshadowed by Rock Lee's fierce ambition to become stronger, Neji's Byakugan and Gentle Fist techniques, and of course, the King Might Guy. When she took her hand at medical ninjutsu, Tenten came to the harsh reality she does not have anywhere near the chakra control of a standard medical ninja to complete this technique, much less Tsunade. And in her only major fight, being versus Tamari in the Chunin exams, she gets by every metric Tenten had originally set out for herself as a standard kunoichi, she has underachieved by a large margin. But that's only when you look at the glass half empty, because although she could not replicate Tsunade's genius in the medical ninjutsu, Tenten has a talent for fuinjutsu as a weapon specialist, which is an integral part of Tenten's untapped OP fighting potential that we're going to discuss later. And even though she hasn't had many major fights canonically, the filler does a great job showcasing her as the main attraction. Looking at the anime-only episode of Shippuden, Deploy Team Tenten, Tenten plays the key major role in protecting and properly handling the sealed weapons created by Io, using her expertise with scrolls and summoning tools. And when it comes to being overlooked on Team Guy, although that is true, she has become a massive meme in the Naruto community as the one character who gets no screen time. On one end, Tenten is a mellow character who has not met any of her goals. On the other, she is a character who, in spite of all of it, still found a way to matter. Another aspect of Tenten that gets overlooked as well is her underdog mentality. Actually, looking at Team Guy, they are all the embodiment of this. Neji, the dude who hates being born in the branch house of the Hyuga and trained endlessly. Rock Lee, despite having no real form of ninjutsu, overcompensated through his expertise in taijutsu. And Guy, just a Kakashi writer, and Tenten fits this as well by being a lady shinobi. During the Chunin exams, while spectating Ino and Sakura, Neji makes a remark on their lackluster taijutsu performance and attributes that to just being a kunoichi trait, in which Tenten snapped back. At first glance, this is just her fighting for screen time, but looking at her admiration for Tsunade, and that in Boruto she's the single MILF of Konoha who has her own business, we can see that her standing firm as a woman and proving her worth means a lot to Tenten, and that refusal to be counted out is exactly what shows up in her jutsu, which brings me to my next point.
Rising Dragon! How about this?
When we examine Tenten's jutsu kit, she unexpectedly differs in her style of ninjutsu compared to most ninjas. Most shinobi carry one dominant style of ninjutsu when fighting. For instance, Tamari using her giant fan to create wind release technique. But looking at Tenten, she specializes in two forms of ninjutsu which she uses simultaneously. Bukijutsu, the ninjutsu that specializes in weapons techniques, and fuinjutsu, sealing-based ninjutsu. Tenten blends these two jutsus together by sealing the weapons she obtains into sealing scrolls, then bringing them out in the heat of battle. Her classic display of this was during her fight with Tamari in the Chunin exams. And yes, this is considered anime only material since the duration of this fight was not covered in the manga, but she has nothing, so let's cut her some slack. Anyway, during that fight, Tenten used her most signature display of advanced jutsu, the twin rising dragons technique. In this, she jumps up and twirls both of her scrolls to create a twin rising dragon effect, which she releases multiple weapons and throws them in a barrage at her enemy. Now Tamari did yeet that to oblivion, but let me cook here. Tenten in the anime only episode 192 of Shippuden, we see more of her. It takes place during the attack of Orochimaru on the leaf during the original Chunin exams, and it displays the perspective of of Neji, Kiba, Hinata, and Tenten. This is where she uses a jutsu called Dragon Bomb, a fire release technique that she releases from her scroll in the form of a dragon to attack her enemies. This shows Tenten is capable of sealing complex jutsus to add to her arsenal. Now imagine she sealed a Rasengan or something. Tenten could have done a lot more tactically in the heat of battle if Kishimoto put his mind to it, but we all know him and good female characters don't go well together. I want to add the mechanics of her jutsu style resembles Chrollo from Hunter x Hunter and Yuta Okkotsu from Jujutsu Kaisen. All three of these characters in their own way can store other opponents' techniques and use them to their advantage. If we expand Tenten's Fuin Jutsu capabilities, in theory, that comp alone should tell you Tenten's ceiling was never low, the story just never let her reach it. And speaking of ceilings, also worth noting is that Tenten is on the same team as Might Guy, Rock Lee, and Neji, shinobi who specialize in hand-to-hand combat techniques, and it's safe to say Tenten has absorbed some of that residual skill just from training alongside them so consistently. We actually see this in an anime-only session where Might Guy pushed all three of them to their absolute limits during a training session. Like I said before, there are no major Tenten taijutsu moments canonically, but there aren't really any Tenten anything moments, so yeah. The point is the environment she was forged in was elite, and that shows up in how well-rounded her actual kit actually is. When she uses her weapons, most of the time they are just fodder ninja tools that get easily discarded in battle, nothing special about them. However, if we look at the expansive array of legendary ninja tools throughout Naruto, all of the blades given to the 7 swordsmen of the mist, the Gunbai fan which Madara Uchiha uses in battle, and Kakashi's Makeout Paradise novels, Tenten is sitting on an ultimate jutsu that can take any prized possession with efficiency, because when Kishimoto does put her jutsu talent to good use, we actually see how broken it is. During the 4th Great Ninja War against Kakuzu's lightning mask, Tenten obtains the Bashosen, one of the 5 treasure tools of the Sage of 6 Paths. With each strike, she has the ability to use wind, earth, fire, lightning, and water release techniques. Even though she has commented it takes an enormous amount of chakra to wield it, it doesn't stop Tenten's destructive force. Also during the climax of the war arc, and after Neji's death, RIP, Tenten also obtains 2 more Sage of 6 Paths treasure tools, the Kohaku no Johei, or Amber Purifying Pot. This was used to seal Kincock during the early confrontation of the war, and the Bene Isago, or Crimson Gourd, which seals the opponent after saying their most spoken word. Even though she doesn't use these tools significantly after the war, this is the full-scale potential of Tenten's abilities in the heat of combat, and I won't let that be forgotten. But here's what makes that all hit different. A character this capable with this much range in her kit is also the same person holding everything together off the battlefield, and that part never gets talked about.
A rose?
That's a face longing for love for sure.
Looking at Tenten as a character, she is a pretty chill person. Because we don't see her often over the course of Naruto and Shippuden, we don't tend to notice her interpersonal relationship skills as much, but when you specifically analyze her character, she has been the emotional backbone for many of the shinobis in Konoha. After hearing the news of Sasuke Uchiha's attack during the 5 Kage Summit, the Konoha 12 made the executive decision to eliminate Sasuke. Ino was crying, because before she was on side, it was Sasuke, and Tenten is the main girl consoling her. When the others pestered Ino for crying, it was Tenten who stuck up for her. Or when Neji died during the war, Rock Lee was weeping on the battlefield and Tenten was wondering if she could still console him. Keep in mind, Neji is Tenten's comrade too. This shows that in trying times, Tenten prioritized others over herself. In the anime-only material, Tenten, in light of the stress surrounding the 4th Great Shinobi War, decides to host a barbecue dinner with all the girls of Konoha, mainly to bring up the moods of everyone and ultimately reminisce about how they all grew close together. And nearing Naruto and Hinata's wedding, she contemplated her gift because she was planning on bringing a special weapon, but thought that's what everyone was expecting out of her. That detail right there is Tenten in a nutshell. She's always thinking about what other people need, even when it means shrinking herself. But what really puts a bow on Tenten's character is what happens during the Infinite Tsukuyomi, because she had possession of the Sage of 6 Paths tools. The residual power from those weapons actually disrupted the Genjutsu, making her the only person fully aware and conscious inside her own Infinite Tsukuyomi sequence. Think about that. The girl everyone wrote off as a background noise is the only one awake while the whole world is asleep. And in the anime only arc that follows, when a passerby tips her off that a skilled Genjutsu specialist in Amegakure could help her situation, she goes and gets branded a traitor for it, and after she helps the village, the praise she receives hits different, because that's the recognition Tenten had been chasing her whole time during the series, not through medical ninjutsu or by being the strongest on Team Guy, but by just being exactly who she was. All of these little moments of Tenten are comedic side details, but when we string all of these traits together, we see Tenten is a character who puts others first and is constantly worried about the emotion of others. And when you connect that to everything we just talked about, the girl who couldn't become like Tsunade, who was sitting on a broken jutsu kit, who kept the other shinobi together during her war, you start to realize Tenten was never useless, she was just overlooked by the same story she was loyal to. At the end of the day, Tenten is a character in Naruto that tends to get no screen time presence, very few meaningful combat moments, and whose real emotional value gets weeded out by all the other more flashy moments, by the main story in general. But that doesn't mean Tenten is not an interesting character. Tenten's parallel with her idol Tsunade reveals a lot more about her psychology than we let on. Of her jutsu abilities and potential range shows us she was not a shinobi destined for thematic battle weakness, and her personality traits are ones that make her more likable. Overall, Tenten is one of the characters in the library of female characters in shonen that gets sidelined because of their mangaka. There wasn't anything inherently wrong with Tenten, just that the story did not allow her to grow. But that's what I think. If you think differently, let me know down in the comments. Anything to add, miss, agree, or disagree with, I read them all. Once again, my name's AOI-KUN, and this was my synopsis.